This week's episode, I talked to a guy, a dad. His name's Casey. And Casey has this beautiful and amazing daughter called Rose. Rose has an incurable disease, which has really prevented her from, I think Casey would agree with us, to kind of fully enjoy her life. It's hindering her communication and how she can operate on a daily basis with Casey and her family. Casey is on like an absolute mission to find a cure for this disease, which doesn't have a cure at the moment. He's working on it literally every day. He is such a great dad, and I really appreciate him taking the time to sit down with me and talk about his journeys as a dad and the struggles that he has as a dad of a child with special needs and disabilities, because he's real about it, how hard it is and how tough it is, and how much pressure also he puts on himself, because he's really at the forefront of kind of driving this need and this want to find that cure.
Hi, Casey. How you doing?
Good to see you. Glad we're finally here.
This is fantastic, man. I appreciate you taking the time, and you're just saying you've got the kids to bed, and I know how tough that is. Kind of you're holding down the fort there, and getting them to bed is a massive job. So good on you, man. Good on you for getting it done.
Thanks,
and
one day at a time.
One day at a time it is, man. Casey, can you tell us about Rose? Let's fill in the listeners about Rose.
Yeah, so I've got two daughters, Weston, she's 8, and Rose is 6. And Rose, she was born, she was not developing, couldn't lift her head when she was supposed to. There were small little challenges that the doctors told us, oh, she's just developing slower, it's fine, don't worry about it. But she was choking on soft food. She wouldn't poop, so we had to give her enemas all the time, and wouldn't use her legs. And so we just kept being told that she's kids develop differently in different times, and then what really got us was when she could say a few words, and then she lost those words. And so through this like diagnostic odyssey, finally got a whole exome sequence on Rose, and took it to the neurologist, and he goes, Rose has a rare genetic disease called HNRNPH2. There is no cure. There's nothing we can do. Good luck. And Rose is really incredible because her disease is neurodevelopmental, is what they call it. But in many ways, she's trapped inside of her own brain, trapped with miscommunications, misfirings, and confusion. But she's incredibly tenacious when she's trying to learn something. She spent so much time trying to learn to walk. She fell on her face so many times, and then she would be scared of trying to walk and wouldn't walk for 3 months, and then try again. And she couldn't, her brain wouldn't let her put her hands in front of her. So when she falls, she just bust her nose open.
Oh.
And so it took years for her to really be able to walk. And it's still, she's not going to walk up any steps unless there's a handrail. When you change from grass to cement, it's a chore for her. She's got to think about it. Things that are very, very normal for us.
Mm-hmm.
She has to sit and really think hard about grabbing a fork or taking a step, she Rose is loves music. She can laugh in a way that just lights up a room, and she can scream in a way that makes you wonder, how much more you can take, and very, very hard for her to do any sort of emotional control.
Wow.
Certain environments for her, we mostly just stay at home. I can't go to the grocery store because she will scream the entire time there, and all the moms will look at you like what is that dad doing to that poor girl,
Yeah.
and so I use online ordering for groceries.
Right.
And but she loves to be outside in nature, so sometimes we'll go for walks and things. But she goes to ABA therapy. So in the US, I forced the neurologist to give me an autism diagnosis, because it was the only way I could find a place for her with a structure that she would enjoy.
Right.
And so we got approved for 40 hours of applied behavioral analysis, and it's not a cure by any means, and she'll never be able to do the things that without, at least without a genetic treatment, she'll never be able to do the things that the goals that they have for her, but it gives her something to work on, and she enjoys that.
That's good.
She enjoys pushing herself and using a little, learning each little square for her communication device. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so that's sort of, like I mentioned before the thing, I'm divorced, so I'm single dadding it with Rose and Wes for a week at a time, and then just bacheloring it the rest of the time. So it's very different. It's like all hands on deck, and then like, what do I do with my evening now?
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sitting here listening, Casey, and I'm just like, my first question is, how the fuck do you make it through the day? Because as a dad, right? How do you?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Rosie sounds amazing. She sounds, and I've seen photos of her on your Instagram there, and like, she's just, I can just see how awesome she is and how lovely she is, and I can also see how tough it is for you as the dad. I can see that it is a challenge for a dad with a child with special needs and unique needs and disabilities and all these things. Like, it makes it like so much more difficult and challenging for us on a daily basis. And I kind of want to ask you, like, what is the biggest challenge for you as a dad, as her dad?
I think the biggest challenge for me is being patient. And I can get really irritable, if I've had a hard, long day, and then it's a really long day when I pick her up. And so I can find myself being impatient, and that disconnects me from both girls when I'm that way. And I not to generalize, but dads we're fix it guys.
Yeah.
We I I'm not maybe a nurturer per se, and so that's been a skill I've had to learn, especially as a single dad. And especially with a special needs child, because there is a degree of love that you have to give. You're never going to get that back. You know, with a neurotypical kid, they'll jump up and give you a hug, give you a kiss,
Mm,
and say,
yeah,
"Come snuggle with me, daddy." And
that's
that's
right.
enough. That's all you need, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And everything is uh is right with the world. But she, you know, she doesn't do that. And so, you know, the other part of it is I feel very fortunate. Uh, the work I, my entire job is now developing a therapeutic for her, and so it gives me a out as a dad to do something about her suffering and my
Mm,
family's suffering and my suffering.
yeah.
And so when it's time to spend time together, and I drop the phone and stop the email, um, I can know that I worked my ass off that day
Mm,
to do whatever I could to get her closer to a treatment, and that I can be in the now. And even if it's shitty, I know that I did something about it, and I
mm,
can sort of let it go. And that has really helped me a lot, and
mm,
taken any sort of victimization out of it for me, and say, you know what, I'm glad this happened to me and not some other dad, because
mm,
um, I didn't have a career that I did have a career I had to give up, but I'm crazy enough to do this for Rose,
mm,
and but it also really benefits me mentally, you
yeah.
know.
And
And
that's really
and
important, isn't it? That's really important.
oh,
Like,
absolutely, yeah,
super, super important. You like you. I kind of want to ask you there a little bit. You said how trying to kind of like put everything down and then to kind of enjoy the moments that you have with her and both her sister as well. Um, to put everything aside and be like and just be dad, right?
yeah,
Just be just be
yeah,
just be dad, because a lot of the other times is that you're playing the carer role, right? You and it's letting go, and I have to do this. I have to just really like I just want to enjoy this moment. Like I just gotta like, you know, I feel like I kind of become like I become two different people. I have to really pull that other person out. And I wonder whether you are the same, or whether you have something like that where you gotta just, you know, be the dad, be dad and be you.
yeah. So I was thinking about that this week. Actually, I've been struggling with that a little bit. We're getting closer to Rosie's therapeutic, and I'm finding myself becoming a little bit of a workaholic. Um, and I'm trying to be very careful of that. So, you know, we lived in the country before we moved, and it was easier during the pandemic, honestly, to be dad, and to
Mm,
to drop everything, and to be in that moment, and to be on her level or the girl's level, do something that worked
mm,
for all of us, and it wasn't a caretaker role, but actually being a dad, like you were mentioning, you know.
mm,
And so, you know, for Rose, I've developed a routine around that. That no matter what's going on, she gets a bath at 6, between 6:30, and then when I take her out of the bath, her and I, it's a window for her where she's happy. She wants to play,
mm,
and it's the only window during the day, because she really doesn't want to play during the day. She's really distracted and doesn't really look at you for a very long time, and most of the time just plays alone. And but this moment that we have between 6:30 and 7, or bedtime, is without fail. We're wrestling on the bed, you know. She has this like, she loves to be touched, which I'm so grateful for. And so, you know, I'll go down her arm like this, and she'll just like hold her arm out. And, you know, like as kids, we love to have our backs tickled by our parents, you know,
Yeah.
and but it's this one thing that she likes. And and they'll be, and I'll put my nose right on her nose, and stare in her eyes, and she'll start giggling. And so I found things, and then I'll play guitar for her. And I I'll
It's like the
throw her
gold.
on
Is
the
it like
bed,
the? It's like
you
the
know.
golden. It's like the golden hour. It's like the.
Yeah, it's the golden hour. Normally, your neurotypical kid, that's when they're going to be screaming, saying, "I don't want to go to bed." But
Yeah.
this is just like this moment that we get to connect. And we do that every day that we're together. And even if the rest of our day sucked, that part, it's almost without fail, like a moment we get to have.
Do you live for those moments? You reckon?
Absolutely. You know,
Mm.
it's really the only time we get to really fully connect. And, you know, I probably could explore more and see if there are other ways. I'm very, I think as a caretaker, you become very habitual. You need to make dinners, you need to make lunches, you need to change
Mm.
diapers, you need to do bathing, you need to make sure there's no scratches or, you know, weird things that
Mm.
they got into. You need to make sure that all the door handles are locked. You need to make sure that there's nothing poisonous for them to eat. You need to know what room they're in. Um, it's just, you need to know who's, if you're going to go somewhere, you've got to plan all the logistics around that, as you know. And so we begin to just sort of develop this almost like mechanical.
Yeah.
uh,
It's like robot mode.
yeah, and yeah, and that's uh that moment in the bed we have right before bedtime breaks me out of that, you know.
Yeah. That's really awesome to hear. That's really sweet. Like, and I think I'm. I guess that it's probably a moment that she just loves as well because it's
Oh yeah.
just you know and it's just so cool. It's just great, and it's really good to hear that it's like like literally like a regular. It's like a daily thing that goes on, and that's so cool. It's awesome. You you kind of talked a little bit before about that you're divorced, um,
Yeah.
and that you're a single dad, kind of doing this, and man, that I take you know as many hats off to you as I've got on. I don't have a hat on, you do, um, but I fully commend you for this because I think there are dads who will just check out on this and they will throw their hat in the ring and be like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore because it is very hard and it's not easy, especially when you are even more so when you are a single dad and that's a whole lot of additional pressure, um, isn't it? So how do you get through that? How do you ground yourself?
um well, I'll tell you, there is a, at least in Texas, there is a stigma around fathers' involvement with their children. And so it's just, it just is what it is. But I've noticed that what a mother is required to do, a father has much less grace. And so I've always had to hold the bar higher. Um, and I've got just countless stories of why. And it, that has been a real challenge because there's things that I don't care about: hair. I don't care about clothes. I don't care how dirty the kids are. I just want to have fun. you know,
Yeah.
and and what I found when you have a special needs child and you're in any sort of system, uh, that can look like neglect.
Yeah.
And so you have to be, as a single dad, I have to be very aware of how my children look,
Mm.
which honestly, hey, because to me, you could be a terrible parent, and as long as your child's hair is brushed and their clothes look nice, everybody
Mm.
just looks the other way, you know.
Yeah.
I'm an incredibly loving father,
Yeah.
but that part has been hard for me, of being aware of how other people perceive me as a
Mm.
parent. And so that's been a new, as a divorced dad, and I'm lucky because I have an incredible girlfriend, but who also had a special needs child. And so she's been very, very helpful with me in sort of checking me, hey, you don't need to do that. It's fine. Or, it's just, as a partner, it's nice to have someone you can bounce ideas off of,
Yeah.
just any of those. And
That's good.
and but I think dads appreciate challenges too, and
Yeah. Comes
there's a
back to that. We
part
want
of,
to kind of want to fix it, or we want to like we got this, or we
yeah, yeah.
well
And this part, you're never gonna really, I mean, I don't know, I think you might relate to this, but I don't think you ever really got it. You never really,
no.
you might have a day where you felt like, man, I had my shit together today, and the kids were happy, and we ate healthy food, and everyone got to bed on time, and no one was upset, but most days nothing goes the way you planned it,
Mm.
and you know
Do you
eh,
tell
eh,
yourself? Do you tell yourself, Casey? Do you say actually like say, you know what, I've done a good job? Do you actually physically tell yourself that? Because I think that's something that I've started to try and do. Actually, like I've
hmm,
actually because we don't do this, and I've started to do this because it's telling myself that actually, yeah, I've actually done a good job. I've done the best. I've done what I can do. Like, you know, do you?
probably not. uh I'm just trying to think. I think i, I think uh I feel like I'm constantly not measuring up to the
Mm,
father that I'd like to be. Um, and so I do think that I might have some work to do around, um, being the best dad I can be today, and being happy with that. I think every parent has the potential of putting unnecessary pressure on
mm.
themselves, and that strangely enough, ends up disconnecting you with your kids and making you more irritable, and and it takes you out of the moment, all the
Mm.
things that you're trying to actually achieve. So that's an
But
interesting question.
it's different for guys though, isn't it? It's really like I really started to understand a bit more about how I was, and I'm still learning. I'm far from like coming to the end of the road of that. Like I'm like, okay, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I just can't achieve what I want to achieve as a dad? I'm setting myself these tasks, and then I it's I it's something that as men we just uh when we've the expectation that we have to be something else, we have to be more,
Mm, hmm.
and um we're not actually very kind to ourselves,
Mm.
and that doesn't mean that we have to, bugger off and, eat French fries while our kids are eating, the leftovers. It's nothing like that. It's actually like looking after ourselves, like as guys, because we feel that we have got it all. Like, we need to show that we have all our shit together, and that
Right.
and if we show any weakness on that, is that we're going to be less of a dad.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I want to hear what you think about that.
Um, yeah, I mean, wow, this is an interesting conversation because it's so I have, again, as a single dad with two girls, I have a my greatest fear is that I fail as a father
Yep.
to my two children.
Yep.
My greatest fear is that either their mom thinks I'm incapable of being a good dad and tries to take them away, because in Texas it's a mom state, and um, and dads wanting 50% of their children is like unheard of in Texas.
Wow.
Um, and 50% is not enough for me, but it's the healthiest thing that the girls could have, to be able to be with both of their
Absolutely.
parents, which I think is
Yeah.
incredibly important in a divorced family. The father and the mother are just as important for a child's development.
That's that
I don't care
fatherly
what
figure,
anybody
isn't it? It's
says.
that fatherly figure too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the dad, isn't it?
yeah. And so I think, you know, that fear, I look at my career as a musician before I had kids. My fear was that I would never be successful. My fear is, so it goes back to what you're saying. There's a level of achievement, and it's it makes me laugh because when I say it out loud, I want to achieve being a good dad. I want to achieve my girls being well loved. I want to achieve them having every opportunity they can for whatever they want to do in their lives, which is why I'm maniacally focused on raising millions of dollars and building a genetic treatment that's never existed for Rose. I'm constantly trying to achieve something, and where I think what's so damn hard is being in the moment with my kiddos,
Yeah.
where nothing needs to be achieved, where it's you're not achieving something. And so I think that's, as a dad, that's where my growth edge really is like letting go of needing to meet some fucking metric of excellence.
Yeah. And
Is
it you that kind of, that pressure of like, you want to find the cure for Rosie. You want to find that because you're doing it for her, because you want her to, she's enjoying her life now, but you really want her to enjoy so much more.
Absolutely. Yeah. She's going to have a very limited, her life is going to be extremely limited, and she could go catatonic, in at puberty, some of those kids with her disease do. But even if she doesn't, she'd never fall in love. She'd never really be able to have friends. She wouldn't be able to play with anybody. She wouldn't be able to certainly go to college, or like have a job, or a skill or hobby that she loved, or a dream, and I want
And you
her.
And that kind of pressure you feel comes back onto you, right? At the moment,
Yeah,
you feel it's kind of is it? I don't know. It's because you want to find that cure. So you're like, I got to find. I want to really want to. That pressure
yeah,
is on you as a dad to, and you because it's different.
absolutely.
It's a very different case for me, right? Because there's no cure for Down syndrome or autism and things like that, but there is a potential cure for Rosie, right?
Yeah, and that's I think about this, if Rose had like a chromosomal disorder where she was missing a set of genes or something, where we know that there is no technology out there at the moment that could fix that genetic issue,
Mm,
then I wouldn't be doing any of this,
mm,
you know. And that was to know that there is that possibility for her, because it's a point mutation. It's just one gene, and I I have to try and exhaust every single resource until I've either hit every dead end or found something,
mm,
you know. And it could be either one of those,
mm,
but it's sort of like, if if a car is going to hit your kid, you're going to throw yourself in front of the car if you are physically able to do it. It's a natural reaction,
yeah.
but without making a drug for Rose is my car. That's the
Mm,
thing that I knew nothing about how to do it. I've never raised this kind of money before.
yeah.
I'm a fucking musician. We're impulsive. We have zero self-control. We have zero like self-discipline, unless it comes to like recording or writing. And so um, I, we're terrible at talking to people, communication. So that's why we get into music in the first place, because it's a better form of communication for us. So I'm having to learn all these skills, managing people, asking people for money, um, diligently executing something every single day when I could barely brush my teeth every day when I was on tour, and so the culture for me has drastically changed, and it's made me a better man, you know.
Mm,
And it amazes me the love of your child can do for a dad, and the character building,
mm,
and this, like we were saying, self-aware, the requirement of
mm,
self-awareness that the love of your child brings you,
mm,
something I've, you know, far outweighs any other event in my life.
yeah. Amazing. It definitely is huge a huge journey and a huge kind of self-reflection as well that goes along. But I think I don't think a lot of guys actually do a lot of self-reflection. Because that's actually really hard to do, to kind of analyze ourselves and work out what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, but actually also be nice to ourselves and being like good to ourselves. How do you like,
Yeah.
Casey, how do you look after yourself? Because around you, your world is, well,
It's chaos.
okay, there we
Yeah.
go. I didn't
Yeah.
want to say the word. I was like, well, what?
Yeah.
I don't want to, say things that are, not what they are. So
No, it is chaos.
my life is chaos. I can say my life is chaos, but I don't want to say
Yeah.
your life is chaos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm on the ragged edge right now. Actually, in my life, I feel like I'm really on the ragged edge with stuff, and I'm just
Yeah.
like so fucking close to like just not being able to do the basic shit. So I wonder,
Right.
like, how do you keep your shit together? How do you be good to yourself, nice to yourself,
Well,
look after yourself, be human to yourself.
so I haven't figured it out, but I can tell you some of this started when I was 19 and 24. I lost both my dad and my brother to suicide, and I became a severe alcoholic, drug addict. And I was touring all the time, in bars and clubs and venues, and I reached a bottom, and I had to get sober. I had to go through AA. I had to do the 12 steps. I had to, it forced me to make amends with people, make amends with myself. It forced me to give up things that I was holding on to and I was feeling guilty or ashamed for. And I am so grateful. So one, I don't have to worry about drinking myself to death when I've had a bad day. Two, I started a therapy after I got single, after the divorce, and I was trying to date again. I was just picking the wrong women, and I ended up going through a therapy called internal family systems model, which is this. It's sort of it reminded me a lot of AA in the sense that it made you be self-aware, but it divides a lot of your thought processes in parts like subroutines. And the idea is that you have a core self that's connected to God or the universe and others, however you call it, and then all these parts that have been developed over time. Some you may have been born with, but most came in as you were developing. You have a critic part, you have a lover part, you have a manager part, you have firefighter parts that jump in when they're trying to save your ass, and so I got to learn many of those parts, and that's been once I went through some of this, it's just a different way of organizing your brain and your psyche. It's allowed me to sort of work through issues when things are really going awry. And the last thing that I've implemented just this year is I go sailing.
That sounds good.
Once a month, once or twice a month, and sometimes I'll need to hire a babysitter, and sometimes, which when I don't have my kids, but I'll leave right as the sun's setting. We have a huge lake here in Austin, and I'll jump in the sailboat and sail with the moon and the stars out.
Wow.
And it has been so helpful for me to just be out on the water in the wind, taking a breath and just being
you,
being me,
being human to you, right? Being as human to you as you can possibly fucking be in a world that is just buzzing around you, and on that lake, just it's all about you. And that
you don't have to do anything or be anywhere or help anybody or be anyone to anyone else, and it fills up, the coffers, and
it does.
I think every parent of a special needs child needs something that is theirs, that brings them joy, that is not about achieving anything. That
just doing something that is fun. It could be exhilarating. It could be just chilling. Yeah, absolutely. We're running out of time here, and I know you've got some things to do. So I want to I want to ask you a question here. What 4 words describe your life as Rose's dad?
I guess the 4 words describe me as Rose's dad. Some of these are my goals. Some of the ones I feel like I achieved, like hopeful, loving, present, and I don't know what the right word is, warrior, or you know, her battler, her champion. I don't know what word that would be.
No, I understand.
Her swordsman.
So I like that. The swordsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the swordsman. Yeah. Fantastic. It's been really, really lovely to hear about Rose and your journey as well, because that's why I do this podcast, because we as guys tend to not share our shit because we're worried that someone else is going to turn around and use it against us, and we're so worried
yes, we are.
We're so worried someone's going to be like, "Fuck, you couldn't like deal with that shit, bro." Like, no, I couldn't actually. And so you're perfect, are you? Like, no. And I just think, yeah, it's good to hear these, because I never heard any. There was, for 11 years, I just didn't hear anyone talking about it. No guys were talking about this. The mums, my wife.
Yeah, they're great at talking about it and supporting each other. And Dad's definitely, we're little lone rangers, So I appreciate what you're doing, and certainly a pleasant surprise this evening for me.
Fantastic
to get to meet another dad that you're willing to be open and honest about it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I would love to catch up, and because I feel it's like so much more that actually we haven't kind of got into here, and so I'd love to later on get you back on and talk more and really find out about this charity, because that is so important, and to get the word out there, because finding the financial means to get the research done, I think, is so important. And that's what you're fighting for. That's what you're doing. That's a reason why you're getting up in the mornings, and your world is in.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say one thing, that you are more than enough of a dad. Okay. And like, it's from a dad to a dad, you're doing an amazing job. And I know I am so sure that Rosie, and I forget your daughter's name,
Weston. Yeah.
Weston, sorry. I'm so sure that they know what you're doing, and if they don't know now, they will in the future. That's for sure. So,
well, I'm a lucky dad, and again, I think what you're doing is pretty amazing, because we as dads don't have these kinds of outlets, and I think there's a bunch of dads out there trying to figure out what the fuck to do, and how, and who they're going to talk to, and how to let their guard down so they can figure some stuff out. So thank you.
It's my pleasure to be spending the time with you this evening, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Casey. It's been great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.